Hey Internet, I'm Chris, and this is the place on the internet where I talk about comics, movies, games, and things I'm generally passionate about. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Penguin, and more specifically, where is the Batman? I just finished episode 7 of the Penguin, and this show is amazing. Like, I just want to get that out of the way. And also, you don't really need my opinion about that. Everyone says this show is amazing because it is. It's one of the highest rated comic book shows of all time. It's a hit for HBO and DC Studios when they need a hit. So fantastic show, amazing. But before I kind of get into my rant about where is the Batman, I just want to say spoilers for episode 7 and the season of the Penguin if you haven't seen it. So if you have not watched up to episode 7, tune out and then maybe come back here after you watch the episode. So at the end of the Penguin episode 7, Sophia Falcone, or Gigante as she's calling herself now, makes a huge power move and actually blows up the Penguin's underground sewer layer where he was growing bliss and running his operation out of. Fine. Why is this spurring this video? Outside of the discussion about the show, which is fantastic. Where is the Batman? like, Sophia literally just blew a hole in Gotham in an area where they're still and have not recovered from the fact that the Riddler blew up the dams and flooded the whole, well, most of the city. So the show is great, and I know they're trying to avoid referencing Batman and to sort of give the show its own breath. It is a limited series. It's meant to give us the story of the Penguin and his rise to power. But the Penguin, like Batman, has not been referenced the entire show from I can think of, maybe in the first episode, like slightly. The Riddler's been referenced more. And the problem with that is that there is a literal gang war happening between the biggest families in Gotham, and people are dying, and now innocents are involved. So you're like, I'm just wondering, like, hey, like, is he still like licking his wounds from the end of the Batman movie? And we have one more episode, so hopefully there's like some reference as to like, hey, like, oh, he was on vacation, maybe he went to chase Catwoman wherever she went or whatever. And also like the show picks up like almost like right after the events of the movie, and Matt Reeves has referenced the fact that the end of this show is going to lead in directly into the Batman 2. So hopefully we do get some answers there, because as much as I loved episode 7, there was a bit of me going like, yeah, where where is this guy? Because I think like when you have these shared universes, like it is natural. I think there does come a breaking point where events happen where like, hey, like a certain character has to respond or be around. And sort of like one of the fatal flaws of the Eternals, which is sort of looked at as a big flop in Marvel history, is the fact that like every 5 minutes they have to reference why they didn't act when Thanos attacked. Like, where were they throughout history and stuff like that? And it kind of takes you out of the whole movie in a lot of ways because they have to constantly reference it as to like why. And also it like makes sense because in your head you're also asking yourself like, hey, like, where were you guys? And for the most part, the series has like operated in the shadows and stuff like that. And like these last 2 episodes, as things keep boiling over and hit a tipping point, you're like, man, like, isn't he like the world's greatest detective, and like shouldn't he be like close to this or at least doing that? So it's interesting. And also as I sort of like complain about it and talk about it, it kind of does make sense because, hey, if this event happens where Sophia blows up this area, maybe this is why the show has to end now, because again, like, the Batman has to be involved at this point. This is a Batman level threat at this point. And I'm excited for where the series goes because it is set up the Penguin Oscorp as this like really interesting villain, and you have all this context now. So when he is in the next movie, if he does show up, and I think he will, and that's why they made the show to kind of like fill in those blanks, you have someone that's formidable, that has like a backstory. You understand why they do things, like, and also like, hey, who's willing to do whatever it takes to come out at on top, whether it be, and also like if you slighted him, even if you're his family, he will sort of turn on you, and that's kind of like really scary. And I think this is the scariest version of the Penguin we've had, which is kind of interesting. And also the way Colin plays it, he's scary, he's funny, sometimes you like him, but sometimes you just absolutely hate him. So it's just great the way they're handling that. But again, like I just walked away from that show like, as Oz is sort of getting up and sort of dusting himself off, I'm like, man, where the fuck is the Batman? And like I said, I love the show, but it definitely left a Batman sized hole when that hole was blown in the ground. And also, like, as we talk about that, it does make sense that that happened too, because if you look at things, it seemed like when Oz found that layer, and obviously it has an emotional attachment to it because that's where his brothers died. You also ask the question like, hey, like, isn't this where Batman operates? Will eventually he find it? Well, now we know he won't, because guess what? That is now all rubble. The bliss is gone, and it'll be interesting to see where Oz ends up at the end. Obviously, he has Sal, like the Maroni family rings, and I think we're gonna get closer to seeing him with the top hat and an umbrella towards the end of the series. So yeah, overall, love the episode. But where is Batman? Yeah, and what I really loved about the episode, sort of focusing on things outside of where is the Batman. Sophia is what was great about the move she made is that I think for the show it's been fantastic because you have these two characters in Sophia and Oz who are sort of outsiders and who have been paid no respect in this world of Gotham and have been pushed to the side, but both of them are now vying for that top spot. And Sophia realizes like, hey, like this is not the game I want to be a part of. I want to burn this all to the ground. And it's a really fascinating take, and I wonder where it's going to go. I hope it's one of those things where I need Sophia to win just because, one, she's gorgeous, and then two, like if Oz wins, you don't want to see that version of Gotham because you've seen what he can become when he has an inch of power. He's someone that, like, again, if he's slightly annoyed at his brothers, he will lock them in a sewer until they drown, which is insane. And obviously, what's really speaks to the writing and sort of the performance is that even though that's an unforgivable act, and he's done so many of those throughout the series, you're still sort of like interested and you're watching this protagonist go along. And then also, like in episode 8, Colin Farrell's referenced the fact that he does some things that are pretty disgusting and pretty brutal. So there's still more to come in terms of the brutality of the Penguin. And again, kudos to the showrunners, but Matt Reeves, where is Batman? And we're 2 years away from the Batman, but you got to at least reference the guy. It's getting too much in the show. But yeah, that's to give you a short review. Great show, great episode, and it's leading to a crescendo, and we'll see where it takes us, where it leaves us for the Batman 2. I think it's going to hopefully set up where the crime families will be and the world that the Batman is going to be in, which is hopefully a really wintry wonderland. Well, yeah. Let me know what you think about episode 7, what you think is going to happen at the end of the Penguin season 1. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace.